it.
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just fine.
Okay, great. So, wow, John Dory, all the fans are talking about this. It was a heartbreaking end to that character, I felt like. So you knew you were leaving, obviously. The show, the reaction of the fans was going to be crazy. How were you okay with how he met his end? And did you and the showrunner kind of have discussions about how that was going to look?
I didn't know this is what we're going to be talking about.
We're going to be talking about everything today, Garrett.
Yeah, sure. I don't recall a ton of discussions about it. I mean, you read the scripts a bit in advance of shooting, so you know what's going to happen. I wasn't surprised to be going, and I wasn't against going. I loved the character and understand fans' dissatisfaction with the decision that was made. But I'll just say that I exist. John Dory will exist forever in the universe, and I'm glad of it, and I'm really proud of him, and proud to have played him for 3 years of my life, and to have met so many wonderful. And I'm glad he connected with people. You never know.
Right.
But I'm glad people liked him, and I look forward to keeping in touch with those fans and seeing them on the circuits and on other things.
Now, was the popularity of the character something that was taken into consideration for how his end was going to go?
I don't know. I guess you'd have to ask the boys about that. I don't know if I'm not even sure I know what you mean by that. Do you mean like which way would it? What do you mean by that?
Oh, I kind of mean instead of him dying in that way, being murdered, I think the fans were really shocked. I think they were possibly thinking his end was going to come in a self-harm sort of way. Maybe they were preparing for that, and then the murder was so shocking. And I think obviously you're never going to make fans happy. They're always going to be outraged when their favorite leaves the show. So I was just wondering if there had been some discussions about how popular he was and if there was going to be sensitivity to how he was going to go. But, I guess in this world of the universe, the zombie universe, everyone goes brutally.
Yeah, I don't know if they might have had those discussions in the writer's room, but they didn't involve me in them. And I don't know if you really know how popular a character is. I knew people would be upset. I wasn't quite expecting the outpouring of love that I received, which was really sweet. And, it's just the greatest fans, aren't they? It's just the greatest fan base.
Absolutely. The entire scene you were laying in that river, how long were you laying in the river? And did you and Jenna Elfman kind of work out the scene, the blocking, how that was going to go?
Well, you always work out the blocking of a scene because they need to know where to put the cameras and, what to do and what not to do. But we're pretty instinctive at this point. Jenna's a great scene partner. She's very, sorry, that looked like an earthquake. She's very intuitive as well. And but the river felt good that day. We've been in that river before, fishing and doing other things. It's not that cold, so it's kind of nice. And I'm glad I didn't have to wear contact lenses. I'm glad they could just digitize those when the time came.
Oh, that's interesting. So when you filmed this pre-COVID, right? So you were sitting on this kind of spoiler for a year. How difficult was it to keep that secret?
We filmed everything except that final Walker kill. That was what was left to be shot when we were shut down. We had 2 days left on that 8th episode, which was never intended to be, anything but the mid-season finale, but because of the break, it turned into the second half of the season premiere, but it was really hard to sit on, particularly when, you're moving on to other projects that you've kind of had on the back burner for a long time and we're ready to take off with. And then it's like, oh, well, we can't let anyone know about those because then that'll tip the hand that I'm not on this anymore. But, you kind of want to get going on those things. because TikTok, you know.
Right.
So I'm kind of impressed that we held on to it as long as we did. I was kind of, I kind of wish we did. We could have foregone the early viewing on AMC Plus, you know, for that one, just because there were so many people immediately spoiling it for everybody else that it ruined a lot of that. But, you know, that's the deal. Get AMC Plus, you get to watch it early. So,
Yeah, I think that's been a complaint back and forth between cast and fans. Fans want it as early as they can get it, and obviously cast, crew, and showrunners kind of want to wait for the spoilers. So I totally get that.
there's a need people have when they find something out. They want everyone to know that they know. You know, I know something you don't know, and so it's hard to keep, you know, something that big a secret. You know.
Yeah, it totally is. And, you know, all this season, or season 6, John Dory was in a completely different headspace than he had been previously. What was your process of kind of getting in that negative headspace? How did you kind of bring it down and get into that mindset that he was in towards the end there? 'Cause it was really it was tragic to watch.
Yeah, and it's quite out of character for John. You know, I'm glad that he didn't die in that headspace, because it's just not who John is. But I think everybody knows that, and a lot of people in that headspace, it's not really who they are, is it? You know, it's just a bad moment. But I just, you know, I'm not one of those actors that has to go live in a hole to, you know, be depressed. I like to just use my imagination, and you know, the scene is written, and it's my job to perform it. You know, so I don't think there really was much of a process out of the ordinary, which was just play my part. You know, and what am I doing in this scene? This is what I'm doing. These are the circumstances, and so let's try and do it believably, and imagine how, you know, this character might be exhibiting those feelings. You know, it might be different than Garret does. It might be different than you do, or, you know, just make sure I'm still playing John in this situation. So it was, you know, it was something I think a lot of people felt probably wasn't, this is so out of character for John, but I think that's kind of the point. You know, it was part of the sowing the seeds for what was going to happen, because they needed me to be separate from June. You know, they needed me to be in a headspace where I was looking for that, so that the tragedy then of coming out of it and being like, you know what, you know, this is silly, I'll go back, and then to have it taken away by someone else, you know, who's going through her own stuff. You know, you can't really imagine what it would be like in that kind of world, can we? You know?
No, well, we can maybe imagine what it's like to live in a pandemic and kind of have our worlds flipped upside down, but maybe not also with the threat of zombies and, you know, factions trying to kill us.
Yeah, you know, at least, you know, there's certain factions of society that I'm sure do live in fear of being murdered, you know, even in today's world. But to have it so commonplace, or not to be able to trust anyone coming at you, you know, it's a big deal. You know,
it really is. And, you know, what was your final days on set like? Did you take anything of John Dory's like memorabilia to remind yourself of the character?
I did. Excuse me. The final 2 days were the scenes in the river. You know, that's what we came back in October to do. You know, so it's, you know, I felt bad because we all had to sort of just let this simmer for 7 months or whatever, and then come back and film this awful moment. And we all felt a little rusty. So it was this weird combination of being so happy to be back at work, but then realizing, oh, I only have 2 days of it, and then I'm, you know, done, you know, because you've been sitting on your ass or trying to, you know, stay alive during this pandemic, you know, and breaking your couch and doing home chores, and say, finally back on set. Oh, I'm done. I'm dead.
I'm done.
You know, well,
almost anticlimactic.
Yeah, in a way, and you can't hug everybody because of COVID restrictions. You can't throw a party. You can't, you know. So it was a little sad that way. But I've got John's original hat, you know, and Jenna and I have different sized heads, so there's no way she's going to just be able to wear mine. And well, I got my hat. I got a cool little gift the boys made for me with some Scrabble letters and some fake guns, like this little shadow box.
Cool.
You know, displays. So, yeah. And I got so many great memories and friends I'll cherish forever.
Yeah, and I feel like the zombie world is now sort of your niche. We have to talk about Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. That trailer hit and everybody lost their minds. I mean, it was
That's a good
huge.
trailer.
So how did that project come to you? And how does this zombie world that we're heading into in this film differ from the one that you just left? What is your character like without spoiling anything?
Yeah, my character's nothing like John. Um, it's obviously, the world hasn't been overrun. The outbreak is new and confined to Vegas, at the point of this film. So there was obviously there was a fight to keep it contained before this movie happened, because how do you do that? Did they want to be contained? I doubt it, but maybe they did. Maybe this is their kingdom now. I don't know. And I think I shot this a couple summers ago. It was always an off-season project for me. It was before I knew I was going to be exiting the show, and so it wasn't anything to do with me exiting the show or my wanting to or whatever. It was just my summer job. And we shot it in New Mexico and Atlantic City. It's a great cast, and I've always wanted to work with Zach. Been a fan of his for a long time, and a lot of my friends who have worked with him just speak so highly of him. And it was not a disappointing experience at all. I really loved it. We've been doing press for it all day, actually, and the trailer is pretty hot. Yeah, it's a good one. And,
It's a really good one.
and the movie lives up to the trailer. Sometimes you see a trailer and you're like, oh, that's the best. That's better than the movie. I wish I hadn't seen the movie now.
Right.
But I think this movie, it lives up to it. There's everyone has their moment to shine, and there's unusual things that happen in it. It's a very differently imagined kind of zombie universe than the Walking Dead universe. It's not a secret or a spoiler for the fans to know that over the years, the zombies and the walkers, I'll call the Walking Dead ones walkers and the Army of the Dead ones zombies. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
The walkers are getting old. They're rotting. They're decaying. They're getting
Right.
more decrepit and less, in a way, less of a physical threat. So they've had to be very imaginative in how they create that danger, right?
Mhm.
It often comes with crowds of zombies, or with just situations where there's just, even though they're slower and weaker, they're just hard to fend off. And in the zombies, say in Army of the Dead, there's a wide variety of kinds of zombies, which you see in the trailer. You see some that are a lot like the walkers in the Walking Dead universe. And there's some that are not. There's some that are very strong, very fast. And Zach likens them to sort of like a pack of wild dogs, say like in Africa, the packs of wild dogs that are probably the best hunters in Africa, because they work as such an intelligent unit. It's not like they're going to be writing books or anything, but they're smart. They're smart, and it's the same with these. There's a hierarchy. There's alphas. There's betas. But they're all, they're scary. They're scary.
What was the most challenging part of filming that for you?
Well, I think you'll see. There's things I can't spoil. But I, as you may not have been able to tell from from Fear, I like fights. I like the fights we choreograph. I like stunt work and all that stuff. We have great stunt team. We have a great stunt coordinator there. And I've worked with my main double on several shows now. I take him with me wherever I go. He's a great dude for me. But then they haven't been super challenging in a way. So I get to do a lot of my own, a lot of the water work, a lot of the fighting. I let them take the really hard falls and the hard hits and stuff like that. And God bless them for it. And it's the same on this one. There's some really, really big, scary fights that I get to do with the stunt team. And I'll tell you, it's an intimidating thing when a full-grown man is diving at you, like like parallel to the ground, say, like
Right.
even before it happened, like, okay, here's the choreography, this is what's going to happen. All right, okay. And then it's happening.
And you're
And
like, whoa, 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 action.
you're like, you can't slow that down, 'cause
Right.
it's just gravity and inertia and speed, and it's an intimidating thing. And as it was happening, I thought, I've never been in this position before. I don't think I've ever had someone actually just like diving through the air at me. Um, so we got pretty bruised up, but it was those kinds of bruises that you're proud of.
That's great. I want to talk about the Raising Hope reunion. You and
Yeah.
Martha Plimpton and the rest of the cast got together for the reunion. How did that come about? Obviously, Mama couldn't be there. Cloris Leachman passed away. So how did that come about? And if you would like to talk about maybe some memories that you have of Cloris and what it was like to work with her, because she was really a legendary, both actress and comedian. She was a jack of all trades.
Something else, right? Yeah, she had one of those careers you kind of aspire to, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that reunion. Martha organized it. It was to benefit her organization called A is For, which is to benefit and raise money for women's reproductive rights. And it's a pretty impressive thing she's doing. And we all agreed to be a part of this reunion for it. And we just talked about the show and memories, and it was a great chance to sort of honor Cloris. I was shooting a movie at the time, this movie Ambulance that Michael Bay was directing, so I kind of was in and out. I didn't get to see the whole thing, unfortunately. I thought I'd be done earlier than I was, so I can't speak to everything that happened, but I know that a part of it was honoring Cloris, who had just passed a few weeks before that at 94, I think.
Yeah, what an incredible life.
Yeah.
Incredible catalog of work.
Actually, after I had finished my last day on Fear, I'd ridden my motorcycle from LA to Austin, which I love that ride.
Wow.
And to finish, because I knew I only had 2 days, and then I could take another route back, which I did. I kind of went a northern route, sort of through southern Utah, northern Arizona, dipped down through New Mexico to go there. And on the way back, I kind of took a more southerly route. And I stopped at Cloris's house on the way home. And stayed the night with her and her daughter there. They knew I was coming. It wasn't a surprise. But they had offered, and I said, you know what? I haven't seen her. I usually try to see her on her birthdays. And I missed her last birthday, and I knew she was getting up there, and I just wanted to see her. So I stayed the night. We had dinner, and she was quite frail at the time, but the same wit and humor. I came in, I sat on her bed, and I held her hand, and she was talking very quiet, and she said, "I missed you, Garret." And she patted my hand. And lined up on the wall, on the dresser next to the bed, was all her, BAFTA, Oscar, Emmys, just tons of, I don't know if she put them there, her daughter did, but it was just a sign of her achievement. And even though she didn't speak much, we would joke around, and she'd be eating, and she still had the same, she would be like, she still had volumes in her eyes. And shortly after that, she passed. So I was so happy I got to see her again. And, I always enjoyed talking to her. She's worked with so many of the greats. She can tell you Marlon Brando stories. Gene Hackman stories. And she talked about why she loved acting. And, sometimes I get a little bored of us and what we do, or I need to be recharged. And she never seemed to do that. And I asked her how. And she said, I just love it. I just love it. I feel like a detective. Every time, you're doing a scene, and you learn, you realize, oh, that's who my character is. Oh, this is she might like this thing. And she said, and I feel like a detective, and you start amassing all these different pieces of your character. And suddenly you have this full-blown person. So she was something.
Those are beautiful memories, and what a treasure to have them with you for the rest of your life, and been able to work with her and see it up close and get to know her personally. She's definitely, for me as a female, when I look at her career, it's so inspiring.
So inspiring. Oh my gosh. And she's just so funny.
She's hysterical.
Even as her memory was failing her more toward the end of Raising Hope, sometimes we'd have to have big cue cards, and sometimes it would be hard to get what we need. But when you got when she did it, it was just gold. It was gold, just perfect timing, perfect understanding of what was needed and to do. She's super, super talented.
And that cast, it was kind of like the perfect chemistry, the perfect casting for everyone. You absolutely bought that family and their kind of ridiculous shenanigans daily and Mama, and it just worked. It was one of those casts that from day one, the first episode, I remember thinking, this clicked, this is going to be good. And I was not wrong.
Yeah, it was a really good one. And I've, to be honest, one of the things that I'd wanted to do, and one reason that I'm not on Fear anymore, is because I have my own show that I'm executive producing with Greg Garcia, my buddy.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you what projects you have in the works.
Yeah, it's called Sprung, and we're just about finished casting the whole thing. We've been picked up for our first season by Amazon, and we're going to be on IMDb TV. I'm really, really proud of it, and I cannot wait to get started. And I hope we catch lightning in a bottle again with this group of people we're putting together.
So what's it, what kind of show is it going to be? A comedy?
Comedy, yeah, it's a half-hour single cam. It's going to look a little different than Raising Hope and Earl and all of it. It's going to be a little grittier. Greg's so excited and he loves it too. And, we just had been talking during the pandemic about what we wanted to do. And I had a few ideas, just very, very general. This is how genius Greg is. I felt like I was dropping pebbles in a well. And then he'd say, okay, okay. Yeah, okay. Well, let me think about it. Then he goes off to his whatever cabin in the woods and comes out with 5 scripts. He's like, what do you think of this? It's like, holy shit, it's amazing, and it's about, loosely, it's about convicts who have been let out of jail early because of COVID. I've been in jail a long time for weed, which is legal now. And so it's just a surprise. And we find ourselves out and not knowing what to do or how to make a living, and me and my cellie and my prison girlfriend, we all moved in with my cellie's mom. And it's about us trying to figure out what we're going to do, how we're going to be of value, and also maybe right some wrongs that have been perpetrated on people during COVID. We sort of exact some revenge. So,
this sounds hysterical, like a comedy vigilante kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. And it does, it encompasses all the things I wanted in a character, which is, a lot of physical stuff, but a lot of humor and a lot of heart. I just think it's a time that people might need to have a laugh,
Yeah.
lighten up a little bit about what's been going on. And I think this is the kind of people, that I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in the Kardashians, or that kind of world. You know what I mean? I'm not saying anything bad about them, but I'm just saying I'm not that interested in that. I want to know what's going on with this family over here who doesn't make much money, but boy, there sure seems to be a lot of love busting out of that house. Or how do they get along? How do they make it and still, that's what I remember. That's how I remember growing up, and we all wore each other's clothes as we grew. We all, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
I'm interested in those kinds of stories, and this is a weird one, but it's a good one, And
well, do you think, I noticed that, you went from comedy, then you went to this kind of horror action genre. Now you're back to comedy. Do you choose projects based on maybe completely different than the last project you did? And do you think that's kind of where actors' growth comes from? Just constantly challenging yourself with new skins to wear, new shoes to step in?
Well, it is what I try to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be comedy or drama, but I do like to do something different than I did the last time, just for my own entertainment. And I can't speak for all actors, but it's what keeps me firing. It's what helps me grow, is if I do something new, something that I didn't do last time before. And that hunger is something that, is harder earlier in your career, because early in your career, people are trying to figure out who you are. They really want to pigeonhole you in this business. They don't even know that they do, but it's just how the business works, you know. And it's like, well, who is he? What does he do? You know, I can't get a beat on this guy. And I thought that was cool. I thought that was good, but sometimes that made it hard to get work or to make a living sometimes because, you know, if you think about the biggest movie stars in the world, they often tend to kind of do the same thing over and over again in a way, you know, because it's comforting. It's what the audience wants to see. It's what they want to pay for. It's part of being a star in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get older, and if this is what you've done, you know, if you've played a lot of different kinds of people, because it's what we all can do. It's
Right.
what we do. Then that becomes your pigeonhole. You know, then you become, whether it's true or not, you become the guy who can do anything. So
Right.
that's a great place to be sitting. You know, now I feel like, sure, whatever you want, you know, and I think they feel the same way. And like, we'll just get Garret, you can do that. Or so it's paying dividends now, you know.
Right.
And I'm happy. I'm happy about it. You know, I'm happy to have played John. I'm really excited to be, you know, executive producing my own show. You know, it's like, well, let's see if you can do any better, you know.
So you're working on Sprung. That's set to come out on Amazon. Are you working on anything else, or are you just really focused on that right now and making sure that gets out?
Well, that's in the developmental stage, you know, well, the final stages of it. We know we'll be starting that up pretty soon, and maybe toward the end of summer. But in the meantime, I've been doing some movies. I'm talking to you from my hotel in New Orleans, where I'm shooting Where the Crawdads Sing, which is an adaptation of a very popular novel out right now. That's why I'm looking a little white trashy. I finished a movie called Ambulance, Michael Bay directed before that, which was, you know, thrillery and lots of explosions and car chases.
I was going to say action right up your alley.
And you know, we've been doing press all day for Army of the Dead, which comes out this month, May 21st on Netflix, and a week before that in some select theaters, and it'd be a really fun one to see in the movie theaters, that's for sure. But I'm proud of them all. I think they all came out really well, and I'm kind of excited. I have a movie I'm trying to produce myself. I've gotten my hands on a manuscript that I just love, and it's perfect for me, and I really want to do it. So I'm in the stages of finding a director for that right now. And it's a nice story. It's intimate. I'm really drawn to stories of redemption. You know, Sprung is a little like that, and this movie's a lot like that. And it really turns my crank. You know, people who are, I'm really drawn, I don't know why, to characters that are, you know, dealing with a lot of shame and a lot of things that they want to make up for. And, you know, I don't know.
Well, those are the kind of the meteor characters, and maybe more realistic, right? I mean, we're not all flat. We're not all one-sided. We have different levels of all of us. That's what it is to be human, and being an actor is sort of a representation of humanity in a lot of ways. So
at its best, yeah, you know, I think.
Yeah, totally. So, you know, obviously the fans are going to miss you from Fear. They're super excited about Army of the Dead. They're absolutely going to watch Sprung. What would you like to say to them, the fans and supporters of your work?
Well, I guess I would just say, you know, how grateful I am, and please forgive me, and know that I am happy, and that there is, and if we're talking specifically to the fans of Fear, I happen to know there's some really big things going to happen that I think are going to be really exciting and terrifying and heartbreaking and all kinds of things for them. And I don't think they need to be told this, but please keep watching, you know, and support my friends in front of and behind the cameras there. They're good people, and they love making this show for you.
Well, the fans love it. Obviously, they love you. I'm really looking forward to Army of the Dead. I'm really looking forward to it. It's fantastic. It looks just like the kind of movie we need for the summer after being sitting in our house for a year, locked up. It looks fun. It looks like I can eat some popcorn, you know?
It's everything you'd expect, but what kind of surprises you is the is the humor in the heart. You know, that kind of comes out of nowhere, and you don't. It doesn't seem like there'd be room for that, but I think it makes it even more appealing. Is the sort of gut punches along the way.